You like video games, Felipe?
I do.
How much you like them? 1 out of 5, your favorite ranking system.
1 out of 5?
1 out of 5. 5 being the best.
That's not the ranking system I would use. 1 out of 10. You mean?
Okay, 1 out of 10. How into video games are you?
Yeah, let me tell you. 9.5.
9. Well, that's pretty good.
pretty
I'm
good.
actually at 9.6, so it sucks to be you. But that means that we're pretty educated, right?
I would say so.
Just like our listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. They know a thing or two about what's some quality because they've chosen to listen to us.
Correct. Yeah,
And
they know.
And we've decided it's time to give them the epitome of quality. If you're a Sony fanboy.
I mean, they are the epitome of quality when it comes to games. There's no doubt about that. There's no question about it. Don't at me.
I mean, when you see the games on this list we're about to bring up, that's definitely hard to argue because we're going to decide what is the best Sony console exclusive video game that you can play today. Welcome everyone to another educated discussion. I'm Elmo alongside
Felipe.
And we're here to give you a rousing rendition as we have a tournament at play here of what is the greatest Sony exclusive game.
On console. PlayStation exclusive games on console. There's a little bit of a diciness these days because Sony's kind of putting them out on PC.
There's been some PC ports.
So those do not count.
Even though, how many of these on the list are on PC?
Don't worry about it.
Because the other ones we cut. Do we want to bring up what we cut? Honorable mention.
Sure.
Here's what got cut. So smash that dislike button if you're on the YouTube version.
Do freaking not. Don't do that.
Press the like button if you like one of these games.
There you go.
There you go. Trick them.
So
right.
just to give you guys a heads up, this was very difficult. We were supposed to start recording this about an hour ago, and then we were dealing with setting up the tournament system and trying to eliminate some games. So keep in mind that these are some of the games we really enjoyed, but had to make the unfortunate decision and put them down.
One of the very first games we had to say goodbye to in this tournament bracket was Astro's Playroom.
Okay. Very honorable mention.
Oh, I want to fight for it, but then I look at the rest of the list.
Of course.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Right.
Some deep cuts.
Mm-hmm. I love Horizon Zero Dawn. I know you're not too a big fan of the story, but that's subjective. So we have to cut it.
Because of some similarities in our list here.
Yeah.
Uncharted 2 and 3.
We have to cut.
They got the cut.
I guess to preview it real quick, we each chose like around 6 games or so to kind of bring to it, and then we had to make some cuts from there to narrow it down.
This was hard to get through.
Yep.
It could have been its own podcast.
Yeah. Should have been. More content. Come on.
Last of Us 1 had to get cut.
Just stab me in the heart while you're at it.
Miles Morales.
I'm still debating on that one. I might bring it up, but yes.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could not decide what would take the final spot. So we're going to have you, the audience, listening as we discuss that. But let's talk about what did make it. What were the confirmed locks?
Okay.
Felipe, would you like to do the honors?
Hand me this piece of paper here. So here's what we have that we're going to argue about today. We have God of War, Uncharted 4, Metal Gear 4. Oh, a lot of 4s, huh? Oh, not really. It just rhymes. Last of Us 2, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Persona 4 Golden, Spider-Man, and a toss-up between Until Dawn or Journey. And that is the one we'll discuss at the end just to see what we can narrow it down. It's a tough one, but you'll get to hear the creative process behind us choosing that one.
It only makes you more educated.
Correct.
Just like us as we discuss it.
Okay. I have something written down here, so just bear with me. I think that before deciding on what are the best exclusives, I feel it is important to define what you think makes a PlayStation exclusive or a PlayStation game a PlayStation game. You know, what makes it unique? Why are we deciding between these specific games? Games and their content, they're all subjective, of course, and it's all in the eyes of the beholder or the player. But PlayStation has been known to have a centralized theme to their games. What would you consider PlayStation? When you think of PlayStation games, what do you think of?
The best.
All right.
I think of
moving on,
especially with the way we've progressed. There's a lot of production value.
Okay.
Focus on a narrative, and trying to make the most enjoyable time possible.
Okay, that is similar to what I have written down here on my end. We didn't discuss this prior.
No.
I have usually cinematic, story focused, character focused, adventure games. That's typically the theme that I find with PlayStation when they're at their peak. That is what I've seen. And of course, visually appealing and even experimental at times. So that is kind of the basis on choosing these games. We did try to eliminate having multiple of the same series on our list.
I tried to fight for that.
I know.
But you made some good points. Would you care to explain what that point was? Because it seemed... I could just go.
Bring up the ones you were trying to
So,
get.
like, for example, I was thinking Uncharted 2 had to be on here alongside Uncharted 4.
Right.
You understood where I was coming from, but in the end thought, no, there's that one of those needs to be cut.
Yeah, and as great as... See, the thing is with PlayStation, clearly different generations have been out. PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4. Vita. That's it, right? Oh, PSP, I guess. Oh, I forgot to look into PSP games. But anyways, yeah, we don't have to.
You're good.
But anyways, games can be really impactful for their time. However, we're not in that time anymore. So yes, when Uncharted 2 came out, it was crazy. You know, this is what PlayStation
games.
This is what PlayStation can do. Look at these. Look how this is a movie that you're playing. You know, all that. But then you compare that to Uncharted 4, and regardless of what you think of the story, I mean, it plays better. It's better told. The narrative's better. The graphics are, just different. Time has, improved the game. So as great as it was during the time, we're not in those times. We're in today's time. And there are some games that I was thinking about. I'm like, oh, Shadow of the Colossus. People really like that one for its time. I played that recently. I played the original. I even played the remake. Fun games, but I mean, they don't hold a candle to what's up these days. I mean, and again, that's always going to be
that's a controversial statement.
That is a controversial statement, but
I kind of want to defend Shadow of the Colossus right now.
No, you can't. I would love to see you try. You won't be able to. You won't be able to.
Wait, we should start by saying, is this going to be full of spoilers, or are we going to?
We can bring up some, but no, I don't think we should
avoid it.
We should avoid it.
Listen, all right. Well, Shadow of the Colossus. Mm-hmm. There's that one fight. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna make a motion with my hands, and
that's not really a spoiler. That's in the trailers.
Well, when you encounter that and have to,
he's talking about the flying one.
There's a flying one.
Yeah,
it was
great,
man. That was a high that a lot of these games would have to compete against. That
sure,
one high.
A 25-minute segment. Okay, I don't think that's worth that, but nonetheless,
it was a long fight. 25 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
I think I beat him faster than that. Anyways,
James. Yeah, so that was our theory and our focus when choosing these titles. So it's very difficult to come up with a list like this, and well, we're here to try to do our best, and hopefully you can see where we're coming from when we decide the victor here. All right. So you want to get started?
I would like to get started, but
right.
I forgive me if I'm wrong. Were we starting with the toss up, or was that at the end? Because I thought you said at the end.
I did say at the end, but we can start with it if you want.
What would you like to do? We're at Felipe's house. He makes the rules.
Okay.
Because there's some conversations later too.
All right. Yeah, I guess let's get this one out the way just so we can.
We got to make the bracket. We don't even have the bracket yet. Did we say the bracket? Are we gonna put it up on the YouTube version?
I'll put it up.
So we should go over it.
Yeah.
I think you just to reiterate, just in case, Until Dawn or Journey versus Spider-Man. Persona 4 Golden versus Final Fantasy 7 Remake. We tried to avoid it's the two JRPGs, but we also wanted to seed this properly and have engaging conversation,
right,
or engaging discussion.
Oh,
which you can find on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
Oh my God.
And other places randomly.
Yeah, you can find engaging discussions there.
Yeah.
Not an educated discussion.
No. That's the new cast.
Okay, sure.
Metal Gear 4 versus Last of Us 2. And Uncharted 4 versus God of War.
Yeah.
This became something. Even now I'm like, man, maybe a swap needs to happen somewhere, but we're in the thick of it.
Yeah, let's just commit.
Let's do it. So you want to start with what?
Let's just try to iron out this bracket. So
all right. Until Dawn or Journey?
Until Dawn or Journey versus Spider-Man.
Right. So let's just do a tag team. Both of those against Spider-Man. Then we got...
So the reason there's a toss-up here is, again, we had to eliminate some. I was really championing for Journey. You were championing for...
And I am willing to champion for Until Dawn. You know for how long?
For how long?
All the way till dawn. Until dawn.
Okay. Okay.
So
let's try to iron that one out.
All right.
Okay. Why do you want Until Dawn on this list?
What did you say was so great about Sony? It was like we mentioned narrative, technical efficiency. Maybe we could call it. Until Dawn has that in spades.
You think so?
And I more fondly remember my moments with Until Dawn that aren't reliant on another person and having like a random moment like in Journey. And I liked Journey. I was like, oh, this is cool. Mm-hmm. But that's solely, reliant on who you run into. And not everyone's gonna have the same experience, which is really cool. And that's why I'm like, I was even fighting for Journey at points. Mm. We couldn't decide, and then we decided to have this conversation here. But as a complete package, you're always gonna get that same experience with Until Dawn. And Journey, you might not get that. And it's that multiplayer aspect is really cool, but it can fail you as well.
See, a little bit contrary to what you're saying is I would think, well, at least with my experience, one of the reasons I really like Until Dawn was playing it with other people.
Well, in the room.
In the room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I played that with my wife. It was great time.
So I think that's...
With my brother-in-law.
Right. And then it's a good showpiece. It can engage someone else in the room. So... I actually wouldn't consider that a single player experience. It is, of course, but to me, I had the most memorable moments with someone in the room watching this game.
How many times did you beat Journey?
A few times.
Okay. How many times did you beat Until Dawn?
Once.
I've beat Until Dawn 3 times.
Okay.
Beat Journey 1 time.
Okay.
I had my journey with Journey, and that pun was not intended. Like the other one, but I had my journey with it, and I was thankful for the experience. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you want a sequel to Journey?
No, that's the thing. But I do want a sequel to Until Dawn. I mean, I wasn't fulfilled. I want more. Journey fulfilled.
It was so good.
I would want more. Journey was all I needed. I would if I saw Journey 2, I would be like, well, why are you doing that? Like,
I mean, it could be good. I don't know, but
the journey continues.
Think about you. Whenever I'm over here, you're always trying to get me to do what? Watch a movie. Mm-hmm. What is the predominant genre of movie
that we watch?
That you try to get me to watch?
That's horror movies.
Right. And I mean...
The cheesy ones is the better
sometimes. Would it not be like an insult to your home itself if a horror game wasn't on here? That's so, and this is the educated discussion version of this. And I'm really trying to play with your heart here, actually.
I know what you're doing.
But like, this is Felipe's house. This is an educated discussion.
You are damn right. It's my house.
Like, to not have representation of the most like significant part of our kind of friendship and to not throw Until Dawn on there, that seems like that's a little hurtful. That's a little hurtful.
Okay, look, keep in mind, I get what you're going for, and let me tell you, it's working. However, I also thought about Until Dawn, and I was like, man, I really want to put Until Dawn because it's exactly what you're saying. Like, man, one of the big things I do at my house is I invite people over. We watch freaking horror movies because I'm too scared to watch them by myself. So I like getting people together, and we all make fun of it. We say stupid comments throughout the movie, and we have a good time. you know? So, but the thing is, we're not talking about movies. We're talking about video games.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the fact that Journey was able to provide the experience that it did.
What was so great about this experience? That sounds like I'm being like reductive, but sell me on Journey.
The thing with Journey is it's a game that you just take from it. Like each person takes their own thing from it because it's not a direct narrative that's being fed to you.
Mm-hmm.
Until Dawn has a beginning, middle, and end, and obviously it can change depending on your choices, which is what makes that game unique. However, ultimately the story is the same, and what you take from it will be the same. Minus a couple characters in the end. Ultimately, we like the bad guy doesn't change. That's all there. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you didn't get the secret end. I'm just joking.
No, I looked it all up after. So. And again, I still love the game. But Journey, each person can interpret that however they would want to. And I just remember playing the game and just being like, man, I don't know what's going on. I don't even, I was kind of doubting it at first, but I'm like, well, whatever, let's get going. And then it just kept going and I'm like, okay. And then it just kept building and then I'm like, oh, what's this little thing? And then like a little after, unfortunately, I got it spoiled that's someone else. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, that kind of sucks. But the thing
I knew that going in. That would be a cool like
something to discover, and that's a lot of people discover that at the end when it shows like, oh, here's who you played with. And actually, the funny part is, I knew that was spoiled to me. Somehow, I forgot that. I don't know how.
So you want to put the game on the list here because you're forgetful?
I guess so.
I'm just joking.
But whatever. So, and the game was short. It was very pretty. I never played those kind of games. I was just like a dumb kid, played shooting games, whatever. So this to me was just completely different. And then the fact that I was feeling so many different emotions and taking my interpretation of it, which was a more of a spiritual journey. Mm-hmm. And again, it could mean many things to different people. There was a really big buildup, and towards the end, as the music's building, and I don't want to spoil the end of Journey, but you're getting close to your destination, and just how everything was just swirling around you, it was really something.
It was very pretty.
It was very pretty, and I was feeling some ways, and like kind of tearing up. And again, it's really hard to put those. That description into words as to what I was interpreting, but I was interpreting into something in my mind, and to me, it was an experience I've never had before in another game to that level. So that's why I wanted to champion it. But I do like this is a tough one. That's why we didn't decide on it. Do you see where I'm coming from?
I do, and you tore my heart a little bit too. But I want you to think about this. You ever play Detroit Become Human?
I sure did.
You ever play Heavy Rain?
Mm-hmm.
You ever play, what was it? Oh, it has a different name in Europe, so that always throws me off. Indigo Prophecy.
I have not played that one, no.
I really liked that, like in middle school, until it went somewhere. Until Dawn is like that team saying, you know what, David Cage, that's his name, right?
Yeah. Let's put you in your place.
Yeah, let's show you what you were supposed to be doing all this time. Like, Until Dawn is...
I couldn't believe how good that game was.
It is over a decade of, like, frustration that was eased for me. I'm like, finally, this game is doing what, like, I've been wanting from David Cage games. Because those consistently fall flat for me. And you made me play Detroit Become Human, and we actually never had a conversation on it.
Yeah.
And that's another conversation. Yeah. But think of, like, you're saying the journey you went through playing Journey. Mm-hmm. Think of like the middle school me and the journey I went through.
Oh my gosh.
To get to a game that finally did what games have been trying to do for...
We're still deciding on which one of these is to face Spider-Man. Like, we gotta speed this up,
as I continue this, I think I understand Journey.
It just did a lot. But
I live Until Dawn.
I think ultimately, regardless of which one we come down to, I don't think it's gonna be Spider-Man.
I don't know, man. I'm talking now, and like I feel I feel like some things.
All right, I do not agree with this, but we need to move on. I will give you until dawn.
No, actually, shut up.
Oh, jeez.
Because, God, this is such a conversation. The fact that what I've said and like the build up and everything did not sway you, and you're like begrudgingly doing it, we'll make a journey.
Why?
Nope. Because I gave you this really good sell, and it wasn't enough.
It's a great sell,
but it wasn't enough. But you like Journey more, and you have like this emotional response to it that I don't have. So I'm willing to hear how it plays later against Spider-Man. Until Dawn, God. we understand where what it is and where it's coming from. I honestly think I might pick it over Spider-Man.
Okay.
But there's something about Journey that's making you like be weird here.
Well, no, because then if we choose Journey, then there's not much for you to work on with that to get it.
I beat both of them. It's Journey. All right. And I got harder fights later.
Okay. Oh my God. All right. So now we finally chose that. There goes 10 minutes. Okay.
I say we work a little backwards here.
Oh, okay. So we're not even going to talk about that right now. That was just deciding the bracket.
Let's throw.
Okay.
We want to keep the audience engaged. We're talking about two games they maybe never played.
Right.
Let's talk about something they probably have played.
Okay.
Let's get this one out of the way because it's gonna be a tough one. Uncharted 4 versus God of War. Rhyming out the wazoo already.
Look, I honestly, as much as I really want to debate this, Uncharted has a super special place in my heart. Mm-hmm. Those games,
I could just go. Burr, 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 burr. You know you want to join in. You know you want
to. I want to credit Uncharted for getting me even further into games and studying them.
Oh, so you're biased.
I am very biased.
This is going to be biased.
No. Of course. I mean, that's what all this is. This is our list. This might not be yours. Uncharted, when that series came out, I mean, come on, this is, like I said, I love movies like cinematic. I'm like, oh, this PlayStation's really nailing this. Like, look at these graphics. Oh man, look at this story. Like, I never connected with someone like this. This is fun. Oh, here's Elena. She's the best. And it's great. And then it just evolution into Uncharted 2. I'm like, holy crap, like, look at this freaking game. Look how great this looks.
Look at this train.
Look at this train. And then Uncharted 3 comes out and just like, he flied out the plane. Like, there's it just keeps ramping up. And then it all, culminated to Uncharted 4.
This is going to suck. I'm thinking about this.
No, that's what I'm saying. And clearly, there is just, to me, there's been a progression each time. I know some people are like, oh, Uncharted 2 is better than 3. I think 3 is better than 2. Not by a huge margin by any means. It's a tough conversation and one that could potentially sway, but ultimately, I did enjoy 3 a little bit more than 2, with some exceptions. But Uncharted 4, it just builds on all that.
I think I'm more on 2 versus 3.
But
anyway, that's not the conversation.
It's a conversation that I know will happen, and everyone takes it differently. But would you argue that 2 or 3 is better than 4? Because again, remember the times. Remember the gameplay decisions back then versus now, versus the story. I mean,
I actually played 2 more recently than 4.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Well, good. You have a fresh idea of how that game controls.
I mean, it's not on the list.
Right. So I guess we don't have to get into it too much.
A big point you made about cutting 2 was, I mentioned the multiplayer and the fond memories we have.
Yeah.
And you said Uncharted 2 multiplayer is pretty much at Uncharted 4.
Yeah, it's all there. And the reason we have fond memories is because we were in a different point in our lives. That was a very long time ago. And we had more time to play games. We don't play games no more together. Very rarely. So anyways.
We just trade wins and Smash.
We do
based on the night. It's like, oh, this is Felipe's day.
I know.
It's like, what the heck?
Like, I want to define it like I'm better than you, and I know it, but I haven't proven that yet. So whatever. Anyways, so I love Uncharted 4, but God of War is something special, and I don't have the same fond memories of the previous entries. And we're not talking about those. Those were, bro-y and stuff like that, but still impressive for their times and everything. I had a blast playing the originals. But this new God of War, man, I played that one this year just to revisit it. I didn't have much to play, so I'm like, let me go back and check out it on the PS5, see the new upgrades and stuff. That game is special. It is very special, and I don't have too much to argue. And I'd love to hear your points for you choosing Uncharted 4 over God of War. Because to me, the clear winner is... And I don't want to say clear, but to me, the winner is God of War over these two.
This is hard without spoilers. I'm thinking of like moments in the narratives right now that hit me the most. And there's a moment in Uncharted 4 I can't spoil, but it's just when he does something, someone doesn't like it, and they
find out.
They pretty much.
Okay.
There's like a moment where like it was the most like I forgot I was playing a game. I forgot it was like a cutscene. I was just like, these are real people dealing with like a really real problem, and I forgot that this was all acted out. I was so emotionally invested in like, dude, come on. And
you're ruining him.
That's rare. And God of War didn't have that. I don't know how strong this is of a argument, but I always knew I was playing a game with a God of War.
Okay.
There were some great moments. It made me mad that I didn't remember the original 3 God of Wars and Ascension better.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, if I like remembered a little more about this. I also love Greek mythology.
Okay.
But my heart is on Uncharted 4.
Really?
Just because of the memories we've had.
Think of the... You got to keep in mind...
Listen.
Okay.
They need to know. We would do one-on-one matches in Uncharted.
2.
These huge maps. And 3 as well. We would do these huge maps, one-on-one fights, and just going round and round she go, and bust it wide open. Like we would just, it was such like a...
It was a moment of the time.
It wasn't just a moment of time. Like that was just like, it's when I think of video games, like having a fond moment, like fond memory, like that's up there. And God of War never gave me us being stupid and doing these stupid,
of course.
It didn't give us that. And I think that without the audience having experienced that themselves, that's a hard fight. But come on, man. You remember when we made our clan name? Like I just said bus with 2 S's. And like that means nothing to the audience probably right now, but listen to him laughing.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a wall right now, pretend I'm looking at you, listener. Do you hear? He's still laughing.
Yeah, no.
Thinking about
it was great memories for sure.
Think of Elena doing the kissing motion.
Yep.
The Soldier Boy.
Hotline Bling. The best crossover with Drake doing the Hotline Bling at Drake's dance. Yeah. I get it. And trust me, if I had to, keep in mind, if I had to choose between which one ultimately I enjoyed more, I mean, I have more to build from with Uncharted. I would choose Uncharted.
Have you not played the other God of Wars?
I have, but those other ones were fun to play, but I didn't resonate with the story. You know, Kratos was a douche, all that stuff. So I would choose Uncharted over my favorite of the two, but you got to keep in mind, I got to keep in mind what PlayStation does with games best. And I'm telling you, I just played that game recently, and it's not just because I played it recently. I mean, I know Uncharted. I've played 4 of those games multiple times each. I've got the platinums in a few of them in the games. Uncharted, God of War is a better game. It's not my favorite of the two, but it is a better game.
I feel like you need to...
And that fluctuates. I would say the story is a little bit better in Uncharted, but I mean, gameplay is there in God of War. Exploration is there. Graphics. A whole bunch of things versus an Uncharted.
Part of this argument almost sounds unfair because one is more recent and has more technical expertise behind it. And like, it's not that that's not a fair assessment, but like, when I
wouldn't say Uncharted 4 is bad by any means, especially...
I know you wouldn't say that.
Well, no, but I mean, like...
You named your daughter after him. I'm just joking.
I did not.
Think of that. Think of the ending of Uncharted 4. Think of that, man.
It was great, dude. I loved it.
Right? Think of that. And how... Think
this
of how...
is going to be a long
Think
cast,
of how
man.
you felt. Did you ever feel that way with God of War? And I know you're saying, well, it's not the same. Dude, they have the same number of games. I think God of War might actually have more.
If you count the PSP one, sure.
I'm counting Golden Abyss too, I guess. Are the highs ever have they ever been as high?
I'm more attached to Uncharted's story. But I know game design. I know structure.
I saw your levels on your YouTube channel that you made.
I don't know that was a different time. I know how to pace a game. I know all that stuff. God of War does it better. But that's just me. Crap, this is gonna be tough, man, because you're not budging on Uncharted. To me, I thought this was a clear like.
No, it's not at all. It's not at all. And it sucks because we're trying to like rag on a little bit on what are really phenomenal pieces.
I keep in mind that these games are up here for a reason. None of these are bad by any stretch of the imagination. None of them are ones that we would talk bad about.
Listen to you. You're gonna cut Uncharted. You're trying to cut Uncharted.
I have
for some
already.
I'm joking.
I already have a clear winner in my head.
Think of Elena. Think of her right now, and I want you to look. I want you to imagine. You on a beach with Elena. Close your eyes. You hear the waves crashing. And I want you to tell her. I want you to look at Elena and say, "No, thank you. I want Kratos."
It'll be a little easier because I'm married, so yeah, that's not too bad. Now, let me set up a scenario for you. All right. This is the same beach. you see Elena. You see Elena on the right. Atreus is boogie boarding. All right, you turn left, and you see that big, strong, bald, bearded man next to you. And let me tell you, he's heard the rumors. He's like, I'm too pale. He's there tanning. And not only is he there tanning, he's there glistening in front of you. Those muscles just sweating, dripping. Now you tell me who's easier to turn down. Oh, I lost him. He's gone. He's in that Earth to Elmo.
It's Uncharted is the winner.
Dang. This.
Listen. Unfortunately, this becomes just like who's going to give up first.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna try and remind you. There is no more Uncharted on this list.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more God of War on this list, and you know where your heart is.
I told you where my heart
is, and you don't, and you're trying to fight your own heart.
I love Uncharted. There's a game on this list that I love more than Uncharted, and we haven't even talked about it yet.
Journey.
No. And guess what? That game that I'm talking about will not be number one.
The highs of Uncharted eclipse God of War.
I put my foot down.
I'm gonna tell you, God of War. I would agree plays better. I was on that boat listening longer than I should have.
Yep. You're right at that destination. What do? You wait.
I'm just.
You wait till the Scottish man stops, or Irish, whatever.
There were
accents.
Honestly, with both of these games, there were points where I was like, "All right, let's go."
Of course,
let's keep going.
No game's perfect.
So I'm just trying to like rationalize whatever you're trying to do in my head here. It's just my connection to what I've gone through with Nathan Drake.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the problem with starting with this bracket.
No, we need to get the audience invested.
They left already. Like, you guys haven't decided. Man, we're gonna be here all night.
This fight was gonna happen at some point. I feel like you got you sell me on God of War. What's so great about it? That is better than Uncharted. You've said it looks great, it runs great.
Uncharted has great characters.
Combat is good.
But there are times where you're by yourself. You are just Nathan Drake. Sure, you got Sully on the radio every now and then, or anyone else, or whatever. With God of War, you're always with Atreus, with very rare exceptions, like one part in the game when you're not. But you always got someone there to pick off of you. I had an idea of what God of War was. This game surpassed those expectations. They're like, oh, this Kratos, he's finally learned. For the most part, Nathan Drake stays about the same throughout the series. There is no evolution in his character, with a couple exceptions.
And you learned how he pays for that.
I sure did. He should have learned sooner so he didn't have to pay so much. So with God of War, I saw...
He needs to hunt. He needs more money to pay.
With the God of War that we're bringing up, I saw an evolution in a character. And I saw that him having a child led to that evolution. And him having to deal with how to handle a child that is his own. See him struggle with that. Seeing the child who would normally probably not like this as a real person if he knew him, if it wasn't his dad and he wasn't left without a mom. Spoilers for the first 6 seconds of God of War. So I saw an evolution there. The journey together was great. There was some great moments. There was some great moments between them two. Great acting throughout. Gameplay was top notch. That axe swinging and coming back, and then other weapons you find later in the game with nostalgia attached to them. Variety, environments, traversal, open world.
You
all
really
that,
like
puzzles.
finding those green crows.
I never did that. I never went for the
okay. I'm gonna have one last gambit here.
Hold on. Mm-hmm. That boss fight, the beginning, best superhero boss fight by any stretch of the imagination, and then amongst other.
I have one gambit here I'm gonna play, and if it doesn't work, I'm giving you the win.
I'm pretty... Okay, go for it.
Think about that scene on the couch.
It was great. Okay, go ahead. I'll let you say it.
It's God of War then. If I can't... Just like with Until... If like that can't convince you, there's nothing I can say that's going to win you over.
But I feel like there's nothing I can say that I can win you over. So that's the part that's tough here, because eventually one of us has to give, and I'm a very stern person. I don't like giving up, and I will fight to the death with opinions. And I feel like that puts you at a disadvantage here, because I feel like you just want to give up to move on.
I just know I have fights later. I have,
and I'll probably have less to say during those fights, and I guess you can take them then. But this is an important one.
But I also am taking into consideration, like, in my heart, like it's not that I'm just giving up, but like, dude, if Felipe, listen, you the audience, this dude's met Nolan North and Troy Baker, and it's like he's got Uncharted crap all over his house. Yeah. And this is really what is making me decide. If Felipe is not picking Uncharted, then I can't just. I kind of want him to live with this choice. There's that too. I want him to. I've already bring told this up you for years.
This was on recording. I like Uncharted 4 more than God of War, but I'm trying to keep it with the theme that PlayStation has, and taking game design and just overall the full package in mind.
See what I'm doing?
What are you doing?
I'm coloring the bracket.
Who win?
God of War.
All right, moving on.
And where you are going to comment, listener, if you're on the YouTube version, I want you to comment Felipe cut Uncharted. Just remember that. And on every future video, I want you to comment. And every former video, go back, let it play all the way, and then you comment. So we get the views and the playtime. Felipe cut Uncharted. What a feat. F-E-A-T.
I have a feeling that my opinion between those two is going to be shared across a lot of people. Not you, clearly. But I have a feeling more people like God of War than they do Uncharted 4. So I don't worry about that.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move to the next piece of our bracket here. Now we enter what is a somber moment for me, because these are my two picks that Felipe coerced me into putting in the same spots to fight each other.
I never said this.
You have coerced, you rope-a-doped me in ways I've never seen before. Final Fantasy VII Remake versus Persona 4 Golden. I hope you can hear the sound of my voice, because I hope you can detect the like lack of wanting to continue this conversation.
You brought that for me for this last conversation.
But we also are in a weird situation.
Now you must suffer.
We're in a weird situation.
Yes.
You've not played Persona 4 Golden.
I have not. Those games do not interest me.
And you forced yourself through Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I did that for you.
Apparently. Like, it's so awful. Like,
for you, I did that. I said, look, Elmo really loves this game. This means a lot to him. I'm going to play this game for him. All right. Still waiting on you to play Death Stranding, but go ahead.
I'm not going to play Death Stranding.
It doesn't mean much to me. Go ahead.
All right. So what do you want? What do you need to know to feel like I'm informed enough to make an educated decision?
Just at first glance here, to me, there's a clear winner here. I know how much Final Fantasy VII means to you, the original, and I know how much the remake meant to you as well. I mean, you're still talking about it. You know, you brought up Persona 4 Golden on multiple occasions, and I do know. And the reason I told you to go ahead and put this on this list because I know what Persona 4 Golden did. You know, it put Vita on the map, which wasn't a big map, but it was on it, and it brought. I feel like a game like that being on Vita really brought eyes onto this franchise a little bit more than it had prior.
It's nice that there's Vita representation here.
Of course. But I'm pretty sure you can play this on other things. They release it now on console, right?
It's on Steam as of I think last year.
Oh, okay.
And that's it.
And then Switch? No.
Oh,
okay.
Which is ridiculous, but.
This is still technically a kind of like a remake or slash maybe like a Game of the Year edition compared for Gold.
You could call it that. It was Persona 4 and then they tweaked some aspects, added let's call it an epilogue.
Okay.
Added characters.
So really it did the same thing that Persona 5 did, right? Was it Persona 5 and what was the Persona 5?
I believe there are similarities.
Just similar in thought of process. Okay, so the better version of Persona 4 was Persona 4 Golden. And I do know that game opened up the eyes to a lot of people to that franchise and that even that style of game. I feel like once I started hearing about Persona 4 Golden, people were a little bit more open to trying out those similar types of games and even from that studio. So I understand the significance that game has and the importance it has. But I know you very well. And you like your Final Fantasy VII.
So we're going to argue against myself here.
Yeah, this is a conversation for you. I will just have my inputs and how I see it from outside view. And then I'll have my own personal opinions on Final Fantasy Remake.
All right. Let's address the elephants in the room. Final Fantasy VII Remake, there are flaws. It seems like... Don't roll your eyes. Seems like at one point there's the part,
I just closed it.
There's
and
the
I rolled
part with the hand, and I'm like, why? Come on, the hand with the machine hand. I'm like, come on.
It's just longer than
it was longer than it should have been, and you're playing with such a weird game because you're trying to show progression with Cloud that happens in the original, and by the time you get to the point by the time Final Fantasy VII Remake ends, you are pretty much just at the end of the prologue of Final Fantasy VII Original. So it is a weird game they have to play and balancing act of how much progression do they show of Cloud that they give a little bit, but they don't go all the way yet in the remake, if that makes sense.
The reason to bring up the progression being that Cloud is kind of a fart in the beginning, correct?
He's not interested.
Yeah, he's not likable. He's like scoffing at everything.
But here's the problem, and I did a video with my wife for the YouTube account, and you get plenty. There are plenty of hints, and it's just I know them. There's plenty of hints of like, oh, okay. There's a part where like he's falling, and like it's in the very beginning, like there's a part where he's falling, and immediately you're getting like little hints of, oh, he's not all bad.
Yeah,
he's not all bad.
I sense that as well.
He just makes like little faces, and it's like, okay, like he's already being warned. He's already like his wall. And knowing what I know about like this is a difficult fight because like I understand why he is this character, and there's
you have more to build on because the remake is only, like you said, just that prologue. There's
but Persona 4 Golden's like 90 hours, maybe 110.
Yeah.
you get just you combine these two games, you got the same length pretty much.
Okay. You mean? Oh, I'm sorry. You mean if they had finished this in the
I don't know, dude. Taking? The way that if you take the runtime of Final Fantasy VII Original and add remake,
Oh, okay.
You're dealing with probably a similar number depending on how you play Golden.
Dang. Okay.
Golden's long. Persona's games are long.
Okay. No, I know that. I didn't know Final Fantasy VII originally. Although this is a chunk that they expanded, I didn't think it was that long. But okay. We don't have to talk about that too much.
There's some time. So if you're trying to figure out which one's better of the two, and it seems like personal feelings are not allowed. Because, I mean, when I play Final Fantasy VII Remake, like, you know when you take a kid to, like, Disney, like, oh my god, I'm in the Beast Castle or whatever. Yeah. I'm in the Snow White Dwarves Cave.
What?
The dwarves. You go to the
Snow White. I thought you said, no, never mind.
Like, that was me playing Final Fantasy VII, like, constantly. It was constant, like, that's that, and that's that, and that's that. Mm-hmm. And it's almost unfair. Like, I've said this, I think this was when we just talked about it off of air months ago, maybe a year ago, about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was like, I wish you had a game that you could have this same feeling of like, I am like reliving a part of my life.
Yeah.
And seeing a whole new perspective on this like world that like I'm so accustomed to. Because in the original, it's like, it's just top down, kind of like the camera. It's a fixed camera. And now I'm like, I'm just looking around and I'm in it.
Yeah.
And I'd recognize even that stupid little hand. Stupid hand. They're like, oh. And there's that one fight you do in a Coliseum.
Yeah.
Like that was like, you recall.
Yeah.
I was mad that was spoiled in the trailer.
Yeah.
Because it was such like a good moment. And like they pulled, like, they didn't have to do that fight. And they did. And there was so much respect, I feel, played to the original. There's some other parts that I'm actually okay with that they play around with, considering my theories that we won't talk about. I love Persona 4.
Uh-huh.
I only played Golden. I watched the playthrough of 4 for the most part, the original.
Okay.
But that was after I played Golden. And if I had to go back to either of these two games, I would go back to Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm going to play that game again. I don't think I'm going to play Persona 4 Golden again, even though I loved it.
Okay, so that's kind of a similar situation I just had versus the game that I liked more, but versus the game I recognized as the better game. Would you still say that Final Fantasy VII, despite its flaws that you mentioned, and which you didn't bring up too many on Persona 4, and I won't have much to play off of that, would you still say that Final Fantasy VII Remake is better than Persona 4 Golden as a better game?
Let me talk this out.
Okay, talk it out.
I feel bad. God, this is stupid. Anyway,
Elmo, argue with Elmo real quick.
So, Persona 4 Golden, I feel like there are choices made that frustrate me more than the choices made in Final Fantasy VII. There are character choices that you think are, oh, they're really doing this. Like, that's like really like awesome that they're playing with these parts in this way. And then it feels like in the end, especially because there's been like fighting games and like I've played the Persona dancing games far more than other games you'd like me to play for far longer. And it seems like they walked back on it. And in a time when I thought, wow, they are so brave. Oh, no, they weren't as brave as I thought. And it's got Troy Baker being a character, and he's great. His weapon is a steel chair, which is hilarious.
Okay.
They also do something that, as a kid, like I was like, I want, as I was dumb, like, when I grow up, I'm gonna make video games. I'm gonna make myself, and like you can be really weak and then you get strong, and like you start with like a broom and then you get a sword, and like I will show you one day. I have this large packet of like a video game I made about myself kind of deal, like with stats and everything and moves. And like, oh, I hit level 20, blah, blah, blah. And I had so many lightsabers. I planned on doing something with this. I never did. And then Persona 4 was like a recreation of that.
Okay.
But there are problematic points.
Okay.
And when I think of like Final Fantasy VII, and there's something in the original that was like, this is problematic. But when, I don't know how do you know what I'm talking about? There's a part in 7 that like.
You're talking about the honeybee?
Oh, think about this. Think about this. Like, remember, there was one time I stumbled upon the PS4's like streaming option, and some guy's like, "There's why people like this Cloud because he's a fruit." It was like, and that was so dumb and funny to me. I was like, I wish I could find that guy's like account again. And then the way they handle it in the remake. How did you feel about that? How did you feel like that was done? Because I was concerned about that seen?
I have seen worse when it comes to the way specifically Japan handles.
You watch My Hero.
Yeah, the way Japan handles the differences between male and female, and how they get what they get by, I guess, American standards or most of the world's other standards. Really, they get a little bit inappropriate, but that's just, it's a different culture. It's a different vibe there. So to me, I was expecting a lot worse. It was still very Japanese, but it was Japanese. That's I'm used to this, and thankfully they didn't get too weird with it. Like, there wasn't anyone, like, to my knowledge, being like, "Hey, I want to do that version up on stage." I mean, maybe there was. I don't remember.
No, but I honestly thought there was one, like the hand massage or something.
Oh, okay, God, that is different.
What the heck
that was?
I don't know what that was.
That is worse than the honeybee and by, to me, a mile.
I don't know what that was.
And I personally thought it was hilarious, but it just didn't make any sense. It's like, all right, you clearly know what you're implying is actually happening. This is not a hand massage.
It is.
It is. She is not massaging his hand. She
is. That's literally what it showed.
I know that's what they're implying. Or that's what they said they're doing.
That's what they showed.
I would saw
if there was like a fade to black, or if there was like a scene change.
I don't want to get into it.
But they literally show just he got a massage on his palm, and then
maybe
it was
on
definitely
the lower tiers. I did the high one. I'm like, I know what this is.
I did the most.
I did the most.
I did.
And I saw Cloud's face and certain noises that he made that reminded me of something else. And that was not a hand massage, my friend.
Listen, the cutscene, it explicitly shows that you're wrong.
Whatever.
Regardless.
We don't have to get into that.
Regardless. I look forward to see what you put on the screen for this.
I cannot look at that scene again. Maybe. We'll see it.
I thought they handled the other parts.
Handled?
I thought they handled the other parts respectfully enough.
Yeah. They did solid.
And I was like,
I was expecting more. This is my first time playing the game. I was expecting more people to be like, "Yo, Tifa, man, bounce for me" or something, or just. I mean, a couple people were like, "Oh, Tifa's."
People were mad that she was like toned down. And she's there were people.
I remember, yes,
mad like,
and I'm like,
oh, they're being like,
this is toned down.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'll say this. I don't know if this argument matters to you, because we gotta move on. If you were to be given these two games, I don't think you'd make it through Persona 4. With knowing what and this is the educated discussion, best game. I don't think you would make it.
Okay.
There's too much reading.
You know me. I haven't played.
You don't like JRPG. You like turn-based RPGs?
No, I don't.
You like
Pokemon.
The first 8 hours or so, like you probably still haven't done much combat yet.
I feel like I would still enjoy the story more for Persona 4 than I enjoyed Final Fantasy, but I will take your educated opinion on this. And so
I know you don't like turn-based.
I Pokemon. So okay. So Final Fantasy.
I played Arceus. No, I'm just joking. But I feel like you make the call.
I will take your opinion.
All right.
The last one swayed towards me. I will. I mean, again, I don't have too much.
Well, what's your fight for Persona? Because you still sound like
I don't have one.
Okay. Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Final Fantasies. It moves up.
I'm looking forward to seeing where they go. Even though I understand that without the history of it, and having played the original, some of it doesn't stick. And I'm like, you could have like alluded to some pieces better, but that's ending discussion.
Okay.
Metal Gear 4 versus Last of Us 3. And this is another one. You haven't played Metal Gear. Have you played any Metal Gear?
I have not. And the reason for that is I'm too lazy. There is a lot to catch up on, and I feel like I know I would like those games, or at least appreciate them. But I feel like once I start one, I'd be like, oh, well, I'm committed to the rest of the series now. I gotta play this, then there's Peace Walker, and there's...
I did not play Peace Walker.
Okay. Well, there's a whole bunch of things.
I played 1, 2, 3, 4, and then half of 5.
Ground Zeroes, which actually... I played Ground Zeroes.
Okay.
And I beat it, I think. Yeah, because it was short,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I beat Ground Zero. So yeah, there's my knowledge for Metal Gear. And I enjoyed my time. And I enjoyed how silly it was, and I kind of wanted to see more, but I just didn't. At the time when Metal Gear 5 was coming out, I just didn't have the money for it, and I just didn't do it. But the reason I brought this one up, and I feel like we need to have a Metal Gear on this list, is just because Metal Gear as a franchise kind of transcended gaming a little bit, and that franchise itself, regardless of whether you like it or hate it or played it or not, you know Metal Gear, and not only do you know Metal Gear, but you know its creator. People know Kojima as a name, like more than you would think, and it surprises me all the time when Kojima gets brought up. Who made Call of Duty?
Stan Lee.
No, that's what I'm saying. You got a franchise as huge as Call of Duty, but no one really knows who makes it. You know, there's different studios making it or whatever. I mean, Metal Gear, more often than not, you will get a significant answer.
But that's just
what I'm saying is. I mean, for a creator's mind and his projects to be recognized to the extent that it means it's special.
I mean, maybe that's just a flaw in the industry. Like, I don't know who's made these games, so like even when you say a team, like even when you say a team name, like the one I think of is, I believe it's people who made. I think Syndicate. I don't think you know this.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate?
No. Oh. It's a game called Syndicate, which is like a remake of something. But like that team has moved on to other projects under another studio name, but that studio originally still exists. But all the people who were in there, like, look, okay, let's think of a more palatable one.
Okay.
Rare. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know who did the Banjo-Kazooie and the Conquer and all that. And it seems like that's not. I don't know. That just doesn't seem like fair.
That was
even though I know you're gonna pick Last of Us. I don't know why.
I just wanted to let the audience know why this game made it on the list. I have not played Metal Gear. I do know the significance they have. I mentioned the director being known, and the reason he's known is for like how I mentioned earlier, for the description of PlayStation games, cinematic, the story. Characters, even though that story is bonkers from what I understand, even though those characters are bonkers, experimental. That was one of the things I mentioned, and it hasn't actually come up too much with the games that we've talked about, with rare exception. I mean, I'm sure everyone at this point has heard the story about the controller vibrating left and right. I'm sure everyone has heard about the story about Metal Gear reading your cartridges, your save data on your PlayStation or whatever. You know, you brought up something similar that Doki Doki did, which I won't spoil, that reminded me of something that Kojima would do with something similar like that. Like, those games were unique and different at the time, and like I mentioned earlier, we weren't going to choose multiple iterations. I have not played them. I don't know which ones are good. From what I understand, as the series progressed, you know, you're taking the information of the previous ones with you. I heard 5 was a little kind of a misstep. Like, it was still very good, very fun, but there was some troubles with the development there. So that's why we kind of settled on 4. I had it between 3 and 4.
I've played 1 through 5.
Right. Oh yeah, and you said let's choose 4 over 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, anyways, yeah, this isn't a competition for me, for my likes. For my likes of video games, and I'm sure you're aware of just how much I love Last of Us 2, even now. So to me, that is my winner. I feel like I guess I can talk about why I like Last of Us 2, just in case you haven't heard our...
No, it's going to come up later.
Spoiler cast?
It's going to come up later.
You think so?
I don't know.
Yeah. So to me, do you have any arguments for Metal Gear over Last of Us 2?
It would become a let me say negative about Last of Us 2. But if we're looking at a game that, like, what would I go back to and play, and what feels better to play, we're looking at it from a gaming perspective, I'd go back to Last of Us 2.
That's weird. You mentioned negatives. There aren't any. But
okay. I decided not to, because
it would be here a long time.
I feel like it comes up later. I don't know.
Yeah, you're going to use the negatives later. I know you are, but it's fine. All right. So
I would, because, and to be fair, I used that argument in the last one. You wouldn't want to play Persona. I know you.
Okay.
And
you think I would like Metal Gear?
I think I don't know, because sometimes I don't get like you don't have like the stomach, not the stomach, but let's just pretend it's the expression, like the stomach for like nonsense that I do.
You tolerate it more and thrive on it sometimes, and I'm like, why do you like this?
50 Cent butt on the same.
This is my
no, Metal Gear is far better.
Okay,
but
all right, let me just for the heck of it, really quickly, Last of Us 2.
What do you not know about Metal Gear? Like, what would I have? What are the compelling arguments?
I understand Metal Gear. Even though I have not played it, I know what those games do. I know just how crazy they are. It's just.
Well, then I say Metal Gear beats Last of Us 2.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Cut Last of Us.
Yeah, put it up.
I'm just joking.
I know you are, because that's absurd.
That's
no, Last of Us 2. I'm gonna try to boil this down to not keep this long. It is. Regardless of what you think of the story, because that is the biggest debate point, is the story and its direction. I don't think anyone can argue that the acting is anything to debate. It's fantastic throughout. And again, this is literally PlayStation. It obviously, but like this is their description of what makes a PlayStation game. It's all bundled here. Cinematic, story, characters. You're exploring, adventuring out. The gameplay is top notch. The graphics are incredible. Everything, the technical prowess is at full display. To me, this is the best looking game I've ever seen.
I mean, at the time, that was Metal Gear. The graphics
at the time when Metal Gear came out was not the best.
Sometimes the fidelity, like that
right,
that
and
means
that was
little to me.
Hindered by the technology at the time. But regardless, even if this game didn't look as good as it does, which is a nice little boost for me in my TV and the sound. It's all there, and to me, it builds upon a game that was already fantastic. We debated having Last of Us 1 on this list, but I said, well, you take what you learned from Last of Us 1, you put it in 2, and to me, that creates a better experience. That's not something I know you fully agree with, but my enjoyment for Last of Us 2 is based on Last of Us 1, knowing the journey that we took here, and what we've done in the past versus what we're doing now in the future, seeing the improvements in the gameplay, seeing the improvements in just direction and everything. So to me, Last of Us is like I mentioned in our podcast, that is a masterful game.
Episode 1
to me
on YouTube.
Yeah, the very first cast we did was Last of Us, and the fact that we were able to have a 3-hour discussion on that game, which we will never replicate. It's too much to edit. With Disney, I guess.
Yeah, I wasn't on that
one. You weren't on that one, but man, Last of Us 2 is so special, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of it later. But to me, that is PlayStation at its finest. So clear winner for me, Last of Us 2. But you got to give Metal Gear the credit it deserves, and that I just wanted to make sure people were aware.
I understand that point.
Okay.
If not for some frustrating gameplay moments in Metal Gear 4, I think I would fight for a little harder.
Okay.
But there's just parts that I feel like maybe if I had played it in its time, because I went back to it years later.
Okay.
So I didn't have the mindset probably most had when they played it. So there's a lot of Laura Bailey and Troy Baker in these. Because Uncharted 4,
yep,
they're both in there. Persona 4, they're both in there as party members.
Yeah.
And in Last of Us. It's interesting they play like that kind of father-daughter role, because they're like the same age in Persona.
Well, they don't. They father-son to each other.
I know, but they have that
okay.
like there's that.
Okay.
There's that relationship where they're both teenagers in Persona. Right. So Last of Us wins.
Yeah, by a mile. All right, so now we're going to go back and finish what we started in the very beginning when we were deciding between Until Dawn and Journey.
Mm-hmm.
We are now down to Journey versus Spider-Man. And this is Insomniac Spider-Man, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a debate was between Spider-Man and Miles in my head. I think Miles is it's a tighter package. There's some neat things they do. but ultimately I'm just gonna give it to Spider-Man just because there's more content there.
I have not played Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So we kind of already spoke at length of what Journey meant to each of us. Do you have, looking at it before discussing it, what would you choose between Journey and Spider-Man?
I would pick Spider-Man.
Okay. Why? Did you get the feels during Spider-Man? Because you said you got some feels during Journey.
They're all right.
When I brought up Spider-Man in this list earlier off air, you were like, Spider-Man, like the top, like you questioned it.
No,
you questioned it, which is fine. I mean, everyone has their own opinion.
What was on this list?
I mean, I questioned Final Fantasy, but I knew I wasn't going to take that away from you, so I gave that to you. So,
here's my problem again with Journey. I just never had that really cool multiplayer moment that a lot of people had.
Right.
And it annoys me because I wanted that.
Yeah, you missed out on something.
How do I you can't replicate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember I'm like, oh, that's a guy, let me follow him. And then he would just
show
several times. No, it wasn't even. They just get ahead of me, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know where they are, and
that sucks.
I didn't ever have what I think was the main pull there, so I just feel like I don't have like it sucks. I wanted that, and I'm not gonna keep playing a game hoping something happens. Like it's roulette at that point. Spider-Man, I know what I'm getting. I'm gonna swing. It's gonna feel good. It's gonna be a good story.
Okay.
Journey. I may not get a good. I'm not gonna get what I want. And you know how I live my life.
Yeah.
Ari taught me this. I see it. I like it. I want it. I got it. And I see what I want it with Journey. I would like it and I want it, but I'm not gonna get it. Spider-Man.
You just took a path. Okay. As much as I mentioned my love for Journey, Spider-Man transcends that.
I'm coloring in the bracket with my pen.
Yeah, just to
so if you're
briefly...
on the right side of the tournament fighters, you're gonna win.
That's funny. Yeah, so I won't speak on Spider-Man too much. I loved Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 back in the day, and I got the PS3, I got Spider-Man 3, and it just wasn't. You would think you could look at it, it's like, oh, this is the improved Spider-Man 2, but it wasn't. There was just something wrong. It wasn't right. I still enjoyed it. And then I feel like because of the slight failure, they tried switching up the Spider-Man games. They made like
I played a few of those.
Yeah, I didn't really like. They're like Beanox was doing a couple of them, and it was like, what was it? Shattered Dimensions. There was just a whole bunch of weird ones, and even the Amazing Spider-Man ones. I'm like, oh, here we go. It's the movie tie-in games. Like this is gonna do it. It just still wasn't there. Yeah. So when they finally did this one, I'm like, all right, Insomniac, what you got? I trust them. And then it just came out, and it was like, yes, this is Spider-Man 2 now. And no, it didn't have the emotional highs that a Journey did, but it still had some emotional highs for me. I enjoy Spider-Man. To me, that is my favorite superhero of all time. The Spider-Man and Peter Parker story. What? What are you smiling at?
I'm not smiling. If the audience says, hands are in my face and I am like laughing in a nervous way because these next conversations are going to be frustrating.
They are going to be frustrating. That's actually why we're going to do a part 2. Yeah. Spoilers on what we're...
Just to save you some, to
give you guys
space on your phone. Yeah. Or to listen to some Ariana Grande on the drive you're making.
In between the things. Yeah. So, on top of that, Spider-Man, my favorite hero. It plays beautifully. The story is unique, and they finally changed it up. I'm a huge fan of the character. I know where the story goes, So the fact that they threw a little curveballs, is Doc Ock going to be Doc Ock? Oh, okay. Is this going to be this? Oh, okay. What's going on? Is that symbiote? Oh, okay. Like they changed it up in a way, and then they threw in the little sprinkle of Miles in there. Now, obviously, that's not a spoiler. That's he's in the trailer. to the extent that he's in the game, I won't spoil, but that wasn't a thing before. Mm-hmm. Miles and Peter do not exist in the same world, but they do here, and I think that's better for it. And then that led, of course, to Miles Morales, which is a game you really need to play. But anyways, I won't get into it too much. I love Spider-Man, and I do think the game is still well designed and everything. And although Journey has some great moments, I'm going back to Spider-Man all the time.
I'll preface our next part of this. We will have a winner for this next part.
Will we? I'm confused.
No, we will. We're gonna have to.
Yeah, this went on a lot longer than I thought.
Can you tell me the time?
Well, we have like some extra stuff here. If I have to be safe, I think we're at probably like an hour and 12 minutes right now. I think
that's a nice time.
Oh yeah,
and we're gonna reconvene very soon.
I had thought that this would be an easier conversation. I don't know what I was thinking, and I'm like, we'll be a little over an hour, but we'll have our answer. Holy crap, this was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not like what you made me do between Uncharted 4 and God of War. I do not like this. I do not like you right now.
You did it.
No, I blame you.
I said, let's change the bracket. And you're like, no.
You painted the prettiest picture in my head at this beach. And
you drove away like that car. You could hear
like this freaking car that always runs by my house. So, yes. So, that is our part 1. I hope we can keep it a part 2. We will. We'll keep it a part 2.
No, we will.
We've said the majority of what we need to explain these games. Our conversation will be a little...
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
No, we're going to bring up more as arguing points.
It depends on where you go.
The bulk of it...
It depends on what you try to do. This is all dependent on you.
Real quick, before we move on.
No, I'm not.
Do you have your mind set on a winner right now? Like, this is the winner. I like to see Felipe try to knock this away from me. Do you have that? Because I have that.
I know the end result.
Really?
I know the end result.
You might be surprised with the end result.
Well, now I'm looking forward to part 2.
You answer the question. Did you have an idea of what's your winner right now? Oh, you don't tell me, but I mean, like, do you have an idea of what your winner is right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Boy, if that isn't a cliffhanger, everybody, I don't know what else is. Thank you for listening so far. We will be back as soon as we can, sometime this week.
It's going to get bad.
It will get bad. Friendships will end.
Some of this could actually get very frustrating.
We're going to get super explicit. No, we won't. We try to keep it PG here.
You know, we don't just try to keep it PG. We try to keep it educated.
Keep it educated, everybody. Keep it discussions. Have a good Testing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the world of music, there's only one way to fully determine what is the best song. And it is by being able to just hum a little bit of it or do a little personal rendition, and all of a sudden, everyone in the club is bumping.
And that rendition is?
Booty from afar. Same difference.
I just see the booty from a whole other district. Oh, see, I thought it was different.
I just wanted to, don't look it up because that ruins the song.
Okay, makes sense. All right.